Hey Fit Fam, Coach Ryan from Team Flex. Today we're going to do a little bit of a chat. I want to talk with you about PEDs, steroids, all these things. I mean, you cannot talk about bodybuilding without talking about PEDs or people asking questions about them, or is everybody on this, that? What is the case here? Do I have to take XYZ? Well, we're going to get in here. We're just going to have a real, raw, open chat. Me and you. Thank you for watching. I'm going to tell you my perspective, my ideas on PEDs as a coach who's been coaching a long time, and answer a lot of the questions that I get, because I've answered them, thousands of times, honestly, in my career. And I want to dive a little bit deeper in video for you. All right. If you guys are liking the stuff I'm pumping out, these questions, these videos, any of that, subscribe. Let me know in the comments. I'm generating a lot of the content on this channel straight from these comments at this point. So you comment it, it goes on a list. I go do it, get it for you. All right. Let's talk about PEDs, folks. Competitors, as we all know, right? Steroids, PEDs in general, which stands for performance enhancing drugs. If you're wondering why I keep saying PEDs, that's what it means. Have been a part of bodybuilding for basically ever. As long as you can remember, that steroids were being activated, which is sometime around the 30s, 40s. They became a part of bodybuilding very quickly because, again, it's obvious. You want to be the biggest, you want to be the leanest. That's what we're talking about in bodybuilding largely, right? So if there was a compound back then and today that could make you bigger and leaner, people were interested in the idea of having it. And obviously, for a long time, these things were experimented with in the bodybuilding industry. Golden era bodybuilders definitely all were dabbling in them to a large degree. And then, here we are today, even though they're illegal banned substances, so to speak, still widely used in the bodybuilding industry. And that's just, again, part of the sport. Now, people always ask me, what does that mean? Does that mean it's required? Does that mean I have to do that? If I want to be a bikini competitor, do I have to take PEDs? If I want to be, wellness competitor, do I have to take PEDs? If I want to compete in fit model, do I have to? And my answer is always and forever will be no, you do not need to take PEDs to compete in any of these classes to that degree. If you want to try to be Mr. Olympia, male Mr. Olympia, open bodybuilding, yes, there's a blatant obvious answer to that question that yes, you would have to take PEDs. But for you to be competing in bikini wellness, fit model, even amateur level figure, stuff like this, you do not need to be taking PEDs. And dare I say, for most NPC classes anyway, right, which is the amateur divisions, what most of you are going to be considering, you do not need to take PEDs. And this message is reflected in a lot of ways by a lot of the judges in the seminars that happen in the industry, where they're saying, hey, all the women's classes, like, you should not be just hopping on steroids. Do not hop on PEDs. Do not go out there and just take these things. You don't even need to, because the criteria doesn't really warrant it. Now, with that, let's have a real honest answer about this. Are there a ton of competitors competing in bikini, wellness, fit model, to soon to be probably figure, that are on PEDs, both in the amateur, the NPC, and the IFBB level? The answer is absolutely yes. There is many, many competitors that are going to be taking steroids, going to be taking PEDs in one form or another, going to be taking SARMs, whatever it is. There's all sorts of that in there. And the reason that this happens, is not because it's required. It's because humans by nature will always do anything they can do to think they're going to get an edge ahead on somebody else in a competitive way, or get an edge on themselves in a competitive way for their own results, right? In other words, if people think there's a pill for fat loss, they will take the pill instead of doing the cardio and the diet. And the same goes along the lines with PEDs, right? And don't get me wrong, a lot of people taking PEDs are still doing very good quality work in the gym and with their diet. But if there's going to be another way to exemplify that in almost a superhuman form, right? Because that's realistically what we're talking about. Steroids and PEDs taking you beyond what is your natural capability. Well, that's going to be a very attractive thing to many people. And that's why, again, we see PEDs and steroids running around in the bodybuilding industry, especially, but also through many other sports over the years, right? Like how many of you watching can recall some of the biggest steroid scandals of the world, like Lance Armstrong or Barry Bonds or any of this stuff that is not related to bodybuilding, but where athletes were still using steroids. And that's again because it's human nature to want to push the envelope in whatever way and try to figure out what you can do. And I will say this too, in the average everyday gym pool, right? Like you go to the gym, could be 50, 100 people in your gym at any given time. You would be mind blown to know the amount of people that are taking PEDs and or using steroids or some other type of a performance enhancing substance that are not even competitors, that are just average everyday people that want to look a little bit better, be able to take their shirt off in the summer and feel good about it or whatever it is. You would be blown away by just the average number of people in your gym that are on some form of a hormone replacement or on some form of a PD or a steroid in general. And they're just going to the gym for, honestly, casual reasons, everyday goals, losing fat, building muscle, whatever, recreational, if you will, not professional athletics or trying to, win your competition or be a bodybuilder, which is really the 1% of the 1% of people in the world, right? If you're a competitor, you're in a very specific tier of people that are trying to build a very specific tier of muscle and conditioning, body fat, all of that. Okay. So I just want to open the conversation to the point that these things are running rampant everywhere. It's not just in bodybuilding. I keep getting a lot of, people over the years saying that, yes, you absolutely have to take PEDs to do bikini or to do wellness or to, people will say this about fit models soon enough, and fit models new, and they'll say it about it soon enough. But the truth remains, right? I coach many, many competitors and have for years and years. I do not put people on these things, and they do well at their events. It's just the way it is. So there's the real true facts of, people that are actually doing this, actually coaching people, actually having competitors compete on stages, competing against a lot of times too, competitors taking PEDs and steroids, and we still win. Okay. And that doesn't mean that that's going to happen every single event. I'm a realist. I'm being honest with you. I've had competitors take all types of placings in my career. I've had competitors take all types of placings across the board. And also I do not have that I coach any top 5 Olympian competitors or anything of that nature. So that gives you a bit of insight into the fact that, yes, there are parts of bikini and wellness and will be fit model and everything else that when you get to these higher levels, you could debate that most people are going to be taking PEDs or steroids or some performance enhancing substance at that point. However, for the majority of people that are competing, you're not a top 5 Olympian and you won't be. Right? Let's be frank. I mean, everybody has to have a realistic perspective in their goals. And granted, the Olympia is a great goal to say you have, but you probably shouldn't be focused on being an Olympian if you've never competed before or you don't have a pro card or anything else, right? Like you realistically need to give respect to your goal and where you're at and realize also that the top in any sport are very, very elite athletes in general, right? They're very genetically elite people. They are people that have had, maybe better circumstances to be able to design their entire life around doing this type of stuff. Things like this that is not going to be literally probably 95% of people. And the reason is 95% of competitors are going to be living other parts of their life, right? They have careers, they have families, they have other things to focus on besides just being a bodybuilder. So again, this just goes to say, yes, steroids are there. Everything is there. It's all part of the industry, but you do not need to do it. And I want to echo this. You can compete as a natural bodybuilder in these sport. I mean, the NPC, even at this point, taking a heavy focus now on their natural events. Okay. Like this is, again, where they're doing testing, where they want to see natural athletes, where they want to see that happening. This is happening more and more. Things are moving more and more in these directions. I think they will over time. Does this mean steroids and, PEDs in general will ever be gone from the sport? Absolutely not. It will never go away. And, it's funny to say, oh, well, if they ban it, they change. It's already banned. It's already illegal. It's already this and that. People will still do it. That will never go away. People will find a way to cheat the system, cheat the tests, do whatever it is. I mean, we know that. That's again, human nature in a lot of ways. But realistically, I do think that we will see greater and greater, especially with the introduction of Fit Model and some other divisions, greater and greater amounts of natural athletes and people that do not want to touch the stuff, but are willing to do the training, do the diet, do all this and that to get on stage. And hopefully that is where the industry heads, because that ultimately is the longevity of the sport of bodybuilding, of, bikini, wellness, figure, Fit Model. All this is going to be making it attainable and not getting too extreme. And I think that judges at this point and, the organizations and everything do recognize this a lot, because if you watch the channel, you've watched a lot of the stuff that I've done on the channel, a lot of the competition reviews. We talk a lot about the mass monsters and the very large athletes, the super shredded lean athletes, the athletes that, let's be honest, are clearly using some form of PEDs or steroids. Like, I don't need to say it because there's no need to say it. You all know it. We all know it. You can almost... Everybody inherently knows when you look at a competitor almost, right? Especially if you are one, by the way, that this one's on this. Oh, you can tell they're on that. Yeah. They're taking that. You can tell because it's just the way that it starts to look. When physiques start to look like they were built in a laboratory versus, built through training and nutrition, you start to really pick up on those things. And that, again, that look seems to be getting pushed further and further out of the sport at this point. So I think ultimately it's going to be a very good thing. All speculation at this point, early 2025 season as I make this video, and I'm just rambling, having a real talk with you guys. But the question again, to answer it one more time, do you need to take PEDs or steroids to compete? The answer is no. The answer is absolutely no. And if you've been told you had to by some other coach, I will tell you, yeah, that's a common thing you're going to hear. If you were, if you thought you had to based on things you've seen, versus competitors, blah, 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 things you're looking at on Instagram, I will tell you, yeah, that's a common thought. But I will tell you this too, when you get with a coach, you get in with somebody that knows how to do this, somebody who knows how to coach without doing that stuff, then you actually learn what you're really, truly capable of. Because you would also be very surprised the amount of competitors or the amount of people in your gym, like I said, average everyday people taking stuff that you would never know, because they don't actually look that much better. They don't actually look any better. Sometimes, they don't look any better at all because they don't have their training right. They don't have their nutrition right. They don't have any of this right. They're sitting there taking as much steroids and PEDs as they can muster, right? Not to mention the terrible health effects and everything else that can come from taking these things. I'm not even going to go into all that in this video. If you want a separate video talking more about the very real negatives of PEDs and steroids and those things that can happen, I will do that. Comment that down below. But either way, I just wanted to answer this question, and I make one of these at least a year where I get on here and say this, and then I always get tons of people telling me, no, not true, not true. Well, you know what? Come train with me then. Come train with me for a few months. You know what? I'll put a challenge out to anybody. If you think that you have to take PEDs to compete, and you think you need steroids to compete, and you think that that's the key to your best physique, come train with me for 3 months. I will give you a free membership to the team where you can come train with me for 3 months. And then you have to give an honest review at the end of your experience, how you benefited, how you progressed without the steroids, without the PEDs, and I will get you in for free for that if you comply 100% with it. And then we will prove to the world, I will change your perspective, because the truth is, I know this. I've seen it day in, day out. I know what goes on in this industry. I know from the coaching experience I have. I know from putting athletes on stage. I know. So at the end of the day, the answer will always remain, at least as it sits now, unless, of course, all of these criterias go to mass monster. Well, then I'll come on here and I'll make a different video. I'll say that, the direction of the sport has taken the point where absolutely it's required for you to take PEDs and steroids to attain this superhuman, unnatural level of muscle conditioning and so on. But as it sits today, yet again, March 2025, we are not in that spot. You can compete on any level. You can compete against athletes in, other events that are also, they're on PEDs and things like that. You can compete against them without, and you can win. And I can show you how to do it. Okay. So if you have questions on that, or that doesn't make sense to you, this is blowing your mind, have a further conversation with me, because I'm just talking to a camera lens, hoping that all you are watching and enjoying. But realistically, I can always have my best, most in-depth convos with you in things like the comments or via, Instagram DMs or wherever you want to talk. I'm happy to chat with you. All right. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Coach Ryan is out.